What if your gut could influence your liver, reshape brain signals, and train immune defenses all before you feel anything happening inside? When this hidden communication network changes, the effects may reach far beyond digestion, influencing metabolism, inflammation, stress responses, and everyday well-being over time. Three biological highways make this possible: portal blood to the liver, nerve signals to the brain, and immune messages throughout your body. Follow these signals step by step, and you will never see your intestines as merely a simple food processing tube again after this journey. Your digestive tract hosts a vast microbial ecosystem, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other organisms adapted to specialized intestinal neighborhoods throughout its length. Conditions change from stomach to colon, so acidity, oxygen, nutrients, and transit time determine which microbes can survive in each region over time. A healthy gut depends on layers of defense mucus, tightly connected epithelial cells, immune surveillance, and resident microbes competing against potential invaders. Human enzymes cannot fully digest certain fibers, but gut microbes ferment them into metabolites that can communicate with nearby cells and distant organs. Among the best-studied messengers are short-chain fatty acids, mainly acetate, propionate, and butyrate, produced when microbes ferment accessible carbohydrates in the colon. Butyrate can fuel colon cells and support barrier function, while these metabolites also interact with receptors involved in metabolism and immune regulation. The gut and liver are physically linked by the portal vein, which delivers absorbed nutrients and microbial products directly to hepatic tissue. That direct route makes the liver an early checkpoint, constantly sampling what crossed the intestinal barrier after meals and microbial activity every day. Normally, the intestinal wall is selectively permeable, useful nutrients cross, while mucus and epithelial junctions help keep most microbes safely contained inside the lumen. When barrier integrity is disturbed, greater amounts of microbial components may reach portal blood, potentially increasing inflammatory signaling inside the liver over time. Specialized liver macrophages, called Kupffer cells, monitor incoming material, balancing tolerance toward harmless signals with defense against potentially dangerous ones during every meal. Communication also travels backward. The liver produces bile acids, sends them into the intestine, and helps digest and absorb dietary fats after every meal. Gut microbes modify some bile acids into secondary forms, creating signaling molecules that can influence microbial ecology, metabolism, and immune activity throughout the body. Bile acids are not merely digestive soap, they activate receptors such as FXR and TGR5 that help coordinate metabolic and inflammatory responses. Most bile acids are reabsorbed and recycled through enterohepatic circulation, sustaining a chemical conversation among your intestine, resident microbes, and liver throughout each day. Microbial metabolites arriving at the liver can become substrates or signals, affecting pathways related to glucose handling, lipid metabolism, and inflammation after every meal. Research links disrupted gut-liver communication with metabolic liver disease, but association does not mean one microbial pattern causes every case on its own. Diet, alcohol, medications, genetics, body weight, and physical activity all interact with this axis, making liver outcomes highly individual and complex across a lifetime. This complexity explains why a random probiotic cannot be assumed to detoxify the liver. Strain, dose, condition, and evidence all matter for each patient. Supporting the gut-liver axis starts with overall patterns, especially fiber-rich foods, balanced energy intake, limited alcohol, and appropriate medical care when clinically needed. Now follow the second highway. The gut contains an extensive enteric nervous system that coordinates movement, secretion, blood flow, and local reflexes. The vagus nerve carries sensory information from internal organs toward the brain, allowing gut conditions to influence central autonomic processing rapidly throughout every day. Communication is bidirectional, because the brain also sends autonomic commands that alter intestinal movement, secretion, blood flow, and barrier conditions throughout digestion. That is why stress can change bowel habits within minutes, even before diet or microbial composition has time to shift substantially during daily life. Specialized intestinal cells detect nutrients and microbial metabolites, then release hormones or neurotransmitter-related signals that communicate with nerves and circulation throughout the body. Much of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut, where it mainly regulates intestinal function rather than directly entering the brain. Serotonin made in the intestine generally does not cross the blood-brain barrier, so the popular phrase gut serotonin boosts mood oversimplifies biology. Microbes can influence tryptophan metabolism, shifting available compounds towards serotonin-related, kynurenine, or indole pathways that interact with immune and neural systems throughout your body. Short-chain fatty acids may affect brain-related pathways indirectly through immune signaling, hormone release, vagal activity, and maintenance of the intestinal barrier during daily life. Animal studies suggest microbial signals can shape microglial development and behavior, although translating these findings into human treatments remains an active challenge. The stress response system adds another loop. Brain stress hormones can alter gut physiology, while intestinal inflammation may amplify signals associated with discomfort. People with functional gut disorders often report anxiety or mood symptoms, but shared biology, experience, and behavior can all contribute simultaneously over the same period. Promising microbiome research does not prove that one supplement can treat depression, anxiety, or neurological disease without diagnosis and controlled clinical evidence. Still, sleep, physical activity, balanced meals, and stress management can support both digestive function and brain health through multiple established pathways throughout daily life. The third highway is immune communication, and the intestine contains extensive immune tissue positioned beside the body's largest microbial community inside your abdomen. This system must solve a difficult problem: tolerate food and friendly residents, while responding quickly to pathogens that threaten the barrier every single day. Immune cells sample intestinal contents carefully, using context and molecular patterns to decide whether to tolerate, contain, or attack what they encounter. V cells and gut-associated lymphoid tissues can produce IgA antibodies, which coat microbes and help manage their contact with the intestinal surface. IgA often controls rather than eliminates resident microbes, supporting a stable relationship while helping block attachment and invasion by harmful organisms inside the gut. Regulatory T cells help restrain excessive responses to harmless exposures, while other T cell programs strengthen defense when genuine danger appears when truly needed. Microbial metabolites, including butyrate, can influence regulatory pathways and barrier function, linking what microbes eat with how immune cells behave after each meal. Resident microbes also provide colonization resistance by occupying space, consuming resources, and producing compounds that make invasion more difficult for pathogens inside the intestine. Antibiotics can be life-saving, yet they may temporarily disrupt microbial communities, which is why they should be used only when medically appropriate. If barrier and immune regulation become disturbed, local inflammation can generate systemic signals, but symptoms never reveal a single microbial cause automatically. There is no universal perfect microbiome. Healthy communities vary between people, cultures, diets, ages, medications, environments, and even across days within the same person. Early life is especially dynamic as delivery, feeding, antibiotics, infections, and environment help shape microbial communities and immune development during infancy and childhood. A healthy microbiome supports immune function, but it does not replace vaccination, hygiene, nutrition, sleep, or treatment for diagnosed immune disorders when clinically necessary. The goal is not to boost immunity. Endlessly effective immunity requires balance, responding strongly to threats while limiting unnecessary tissue damage throughout the body. These three axes constantly overlap. Liver metabolism changes immune signals, stress changes gut physiology, and microbial products influence both pathways together during daily life. Consider one sleepless night. Altered stress signals may affect appetite, motility, glucose control, and inflammatory tone without any single organ acting alone. Now consider a fiber-rich meal. Microbes gain substrates, fermentation products rise, colon cells receive fuel, and liver-bound portal signals change after eating. This network view explains why health effects rarely come from one molecule. Physiology emerges from interacting diet, microbes, nerves, hormones, and immunity. To support microbial function, build meals around varied plant foods such as beans, whole grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds throughout each week. Different fibers feed different microbial groups, so dietary variety may provide broader ecological support than depending on one fashionable superfood every day. Increase fiber gradually and drink adequate fluids, because sudden large changes can worsen bloating, discomfort, or constipation in sensitive people during the transition. Fermented foods can introduce live microbes or fermentation products, but benefits depend on the food, processing, serving size, and individual tolerance over time. Probiotic effects are strain-specific, so evidence for one organism and condition cannot automatically be transferred to a different strain, product, or health problem. Regular movement supports metabolic, cardiovascular, immune, and brain health, While physical activity may also influence intestinal motility and microbial ecology over time, consistent sleep supports circadian rhythms that coordinate digestion, hormones, immunity, and metabolism. Irregular schedules can disturb this timing network across 24 hours. Stress management does not mean symptoms are imaginary. It targets real brain-up pathways that can alter pain sensitivity, motility, and secretion daily. Limiting heavy alcohol use and highly processed, energy-dense patterns can protect liver metabolism while supporting a more favorable intestinal environment over time. Review medications with a clinician when appropriate because antibiotics, acid suppressors, laxatives, and other drugs can alter gut conditions in different ways. Skip extreme cleanses that promise to reset your microbiome or detoxify organs quickly. These claims usually outrun evidence and may cause genuine harm. Seek medical care for persistent pain, blood and stool, fever, unexplained weight loss, jaundice, dehydration, or major bowel changes, especially when symptoms appear suddenly. Commercial microbiome tests may describe stool organisms, but they usually cannot diagnose the cause of symptoms or prescribe a personalized treatment reliably. So, does your gut control these organs? It influences them powerfully, but control is shared across a responsive, bidirectional biological network over time. The liver receives portal chemicals, the brain exchanges neural and hormonal signals, and immune tissues continuously interpret the intestinal environment every moment. A resilient system depends less on one miracle microbe and more on diversity, barrier integrity, balanced immunity, and healthy daily patterns over time. Treat your gut as one influential partner, not a master switch end. You gain a clearer, more useful understanding of whole body health. If this explanation changed how you see digestion, subscribe to VitaNHealth for clear, visual, science-based stories about your remarkable body every week. Comment which axis you want explored next, the gut-liver, gut-brain, or gut-immune connection, and share this video with someone